You've written a book, Joyful Recollections of Trauma.
Yes.
And first of all, I commend you on the title because it does sum up. I can't think of a better way for especially a comedian or someone in comedy to sum up this weird line we have between there were things that moments in our childhood that we feel in the moment brought us great anxiety, fear, unhappiness, anger. And then now we realize, oh, it was all part of the stew that got me here, and I'm happy where I am. So you can look back on it now. And I've had the experience of telling stories from my childhood. I did one at ASCAT one night where you have to just make up a monologue from suggestions in the audience, and someone shouted out. And I told a story that involved dogs. And it was something that when it happened to me as a kid, it was very traumatic. But I told it and it got huge laughs. And I thought, this is the magic of A, surviving, and B, having comedy at your disposal because, oh my God, I just got this moment really horrified me when I was 16 and was terrifying. And I'm killing with this right now. I don't want this to have not happened.
Well, it's interesting because you tell these stories that are part of your life and that you maybe have no spin on. It's like, oh yeah, this just happened. Like I remember I was telling my wife, I was like, oh yeah, I never opened the door for strangers because my grandma told me about this butcher who would, kill kids and chop them up into chop meat. And she would be like, my wife was like, wait, what do you mean? I'm like, yeah, the butcher,
the story all kids hear from their grandmother.
And my grandma told me this story where she's like, you can't open the door because if you open the door, the butcher will come in and his steps will come up the stairs and he'll grab you and he'll put you in a sack. And I'm like, And she's like, and it happened right around the corner. And then the end of the story was the mom goes to the butcher. She orders some chopped meat. And she starts making the chopped meat. She's grinding it up and she puts it in the pan. And as she puts it in the pan, the chopped meat goes, Mama?
No!
And that image, I mean, I know it can't exist like the Look Who's Talking Babies, but
is your grandma a Grimm's brother?
Yeah.
It's like that frightened me. This butcher, I was like, yeah, there's a butcher who lives in our neighborhood who chops up children.
But also, Paul, occasionally, your grandmother should know, occasionally someone needs to come into the house.
Yeah.
Occasionally, someone does need to come in.
Never going to let anyone in. Do not chop me up, butcher. You will not get me.
Wow. Yeah, we're here to pick up the rug.
Oh, my God.
So you must have had, because you talk about this very honestly in your book, parents divorced when you're very young.
Yeah.
A stepfather comes into the picture who's, it's physically and emotionally abusive.
Yeah.
And so you're dealing with that. And it's not, of course, none of that is funny, but you had a very singular childhood. And then you describe later in your life, you're talking to your friends and you're saying, and just as you did right now, when your grandmother tells you that if anyone comes in the house, they'll chop you up and then you'll become a talking hamburger helpmate. No. You've had people say, no, Paul, that's not a normal childhood.
That's not what you do. I mean, I remember I raised money to go into the city to go see a naked woman. That was the only job that I was like, we heard about naked women. We were like, we didn't have any access to naked women, but we were close to the city. And me and my friends were like, let's go get some money. We'll go into the city and we'll find we just know
old
how.
Were you?
I think we were like freshmen in high school, we were a little, I went to a Catholic school. They didn't really talk about sex. It was very,
Oh, it's not discussed.
No, it's not. I mean, the craziest thing is my health class was taught by my phys ed instructor, which is, I think, a normal thing. And there was a very shy girl in our class, a lovely girl. And she got up to go to the bathroom. And the gym teacher was like, I got a good plan. I got a good plan here. And so she gets up and he takes this dildo out of his desk. Now, I have never, again, at this point, seen this.
You just
dildo.
think it's a rubber cucumber.
I'm like, what? I mean, I'm shocked because it's like, all right. So, and he goes, all right. And he shoves it in her lunch bag. And we're all waiting there. And he's like, okay, she's coming back. Everybody, calm down. And so we're all sitting there waiting. And this very sweet girl, very shy, very nice, starts to take out her sandwich. And he goes, hey, Stephanie, what the hell? And he rips out this dildo and he's like, what is this doing in your bag? And he starts waving it in the air. And then the entire class, it's like a Carrie moment. The entire class starts laughing. Oh. And you're like, and that, and we're like, and he's like, I just got you. I got you. This is not real. This is not
I didn't just get you.
Oh my God.
That's your person. We need names now. We need to go back and we need to find this guy.
Yeah, and this is like, and that was a story that I again, I was like, oh yeah, that's as close as I got to understanding anything about sex in school. Like seeing that dildo shoved in that girl's lunch
and
bag.
her humiliated.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I guess that's what sex is.
Yeah, this is about all the details I have.
So that's horrible.
Jesus.
But I mean, you as a kid, you get very interested in, obsessed with making tapes of things.
Oh yeah.
You want to record everything and make tapes to the extent that you made your own video store, pretty much.
Yeah, I made my own. I loved VHS movies, and I wanted to, that was to me the dream, to own my own video store. It felt like that was you can't get any better than that. You have all these things at your disposal.
It's funny. That was your dream job. When I was a kid, I remember seeing a toll booth operator. My parents driving through. We were going through the Sumner Tunnel or coming out of it in Boston, and we went through a toll booth. And I remember thinking, that's the life. I looked at a guy standing in a booth, and I just thought that would be cool.
Yeah.
Because there's no homework and no one to boss you around. And it's a pretty simple job, and then you get to go home and watch cartoons.
Yeah.
Well, and I remember thinking, so yours was video store owner, mine was toll booth operator on Route 128 in Boston.
But those moments, it's like you get connected. I was like, I could get Never Ending Story. I'd be on the top of the list. Because back in the day, when you wanted to get a video, you'd have to put your name on a list, and then they'd call you like, all right, Never Ending Stories, and you can come in and get it. But if you don't come before 5, next person on the list is getting called. And so I was obsessed with doing this.
It's like being an organ donor. Except the stakes are so much. They bring you. You've been approved for Never Ending Story. It's coming to you in a cooler.
Just drop what we're doing.
You've got an hour to accept. Yeah.
We got to see that kid fly on that dog. But then it became this thing where I started having these movies and people found out about it. And I would run a video store out of my high school where teachers would be like, hey, you have Ferris Bueller? Can I borrow Ferris Bueller? I was like, all right, you can borrow Ferris. Like, teachers were holding me back in class for me to pass them
That's so cool.
VHS tapes. And I felt like, all right, this is my thing now.
I love, Paul, the idea that you thought, and this will never end.
Yeah, this is
People are always going to need
the job, the medium, nothing. It's gold.
I know how to put things on VHS, and if you want them, there's no other way to see them.
But it was like for this little bit of time, like working at Blockbuster, it was the best. You were like, this is it.